unfortunately, you can see we are missing two players. We're down a Rob and a Panda. They won't be able to join us. They are ill. And so we're going to do something a little bit different today. Instead, we're just going to hang out and talk about Changeling, talk about the world of darkness, talk about, whatever you like. So feel free to ask questions in the Twitch. We will answer them. And if not, we'll just talk to each other and you can hang out with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Indeed.
just so that there isn't too much of an absence, I did put a really cute picture of a red panda in Panda's spot. So we
Yes.
have that.
Yes, we also have a guest star. We
We do.
have we have Dr. Fusion. He runs a Changeling the Dreaming LARP in Los Angeles. I think currently one of like three active in the country.
Oh, we're lucky that way, I think. We have a good
Yeah.
player base. Rachel knows all of them pretty well. With about 20 to 25 people regularly, it's been decent. Um, and of course, I don't like to call it my game. Our staff is pretty well involved, and so it's really our game and the players' game too. But it's definitely a little off the rails when it comes to Changeling and Dreaming, and because in the LARP setting, there's not a lot of background or stuff put together. It's all about dealing with Eternal Winter, and so it's a very sad, depressing world where Eternal Winter is taking over. Changelings are suffering and dying with lack of glamour, and we're playing the Hope Angle Up, where players have been invited to a mysterious balefire that isn't really a balefire. They're not sure what the hell it is, but they all of a sudden they have glamour and they can help people get over this, and so they're doing their best to help humans um, get some spark back in their lives, to save changelings. They recently fought the Black Duke of Pacifica, and they've declared themselves pretty much an open country in the Shadow Court overtaken world of Concordia. So yeah, Rachel gets to brag about that by saying, no, it's Common Revolution again. We're taking over, and
Yeah, I didn't originally want a position of leadership, uh, in part because I've been playing World of Darkness for um, a long time. And I feel like I'm at the point as a LARPer where it is now my job to support younger LARPers, and so I would much rather be the power behind the throne and be like, no, this is how it works and this is what you should do. But everybody was like, Aurora, what do we do? I'm like,
well,
well,
it's when you're a player with a strong presence, that's what happens, no matter what you do. But you're right. I as an experienced LARPer, I love playing the power behind the throne and not being the center of attention, because my God, that's more stressful for me than anything else as a player. And yet, when we played that vampire game, that's exactly what happened to me. Oh, I want to put myself in charge of this clan. Oh shit! What did I do? Why am I doing this? I'm supposed to be an infiltrator, not.
because the other infiltrator wanted to use you as a meat shield.
Yes, pretty much, and it worked right, didn't it?
For
So you get the power
context,
behind the throne of the person who didn't want to be the power, and rather had your role. That was horrible.
yeah. For context, Mike and I met at a Vampire the Masquerade LARP, uh, which had a unique sort of take on things. In which, when you joined, you were given a pre-generated character, which was easy on the storytellers because they sort of already knew what plot lines characters were going to chase down. And it also made it really easy for new players to get involved because, as much as I love By Night Studios, that book is a behemoth. And it's really intimidating when it's like, okay, here's a 1,000-page book, newbie.
Go.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to be like, you only have to worry about the parts that directly pertain to what's on your sheet and maybe read the history. Anyway, they handed me a Setite who was infiltrating the Ventru clan. And so I just sort of uh, encouraged all the Ventru, like, yes, you deserve power. Go get it. Go get it.
And then I was handed a Sabbat infiltrator who had no support whatsoever, and had to carry out a mission to destroy the court on his own. And of course, we met and made friends, had and didn't have a lot of idea at first, but she figured it out early on what he was, and because his background was unsourceable completely. I mean, it was perfectly protected, but she figured it out anyway. Miss I can source anything. and it was a weird allyship. So I ended up being in charge of the clan after what was like 8 9 months of time. The the newbie, and I mean newbie, I mean young vampire, in charge of a clan he shouldn't be in charge of.
Wow.
And the thing was, another player character turned him, and it came at the right time for the venture because actually they were such under fire, literally a dumpster fire of a clan, burning bright every month, with no end in, with no positive end in sight for them, and the Sabat character became less about him, less about what he was and what he was now, and kind of went native in the ID he was given, and didn't kill anybody. And ended up getting himself killed fighting a major NPC in the name of the local Camarilla, which was a weird way to die in the end. But I can also say too that LARP was important to me because it's the first time ever in 40 years of gaming I had attended my own character's wake as another character. That was really surreal. And the rest of the venture were really cool about setting up this whole wake up for me at the next game because I had died the week before outside of game in a downtime action, all the ways to go, and to show up as a brand new character. And why are people so upset? Why was he so important? And I hate even asking that question when people like this person who dies. It's just another venture. Who cares? I made another player's character cry, and that was not cool.
So Mike, sort of to bring it back to Changeling, because
Right.
that's technically what the show's about. Are there any specific challenges that you face running a Changeling game over any other genre?
Well, Changeling, just like any White Wolf game, has got a real huge, deep backlog of information to understand. And it's not that that's bad. It's fantastic because you can pull all kinds of crazy game stuff out of that and stories out of that to make it work. And it's knowing all of that. I'm a new person to Changeling and Dreaming. I've known enough about it over the years, but I've never gotten far into the lexicon of all the data around it. And that was a huge challenge because I don't want to run something half-assed, and I want to be on par with the information. And so it's been a lot of reading. And it's been a lot of reading of Changeling and Mage and a few other things to make certain that I can even Werewolf, blend into this game because I don't want to run a standalone, ignore other factions and other creatures, and instead weave them into the game as best as I possibly can. Because the Changelings are looking to create hope, and that's what Changeling's about. I think one of the things that is not a challenge is finding ways to get people to generate hope. And so the lexicon is a difficult thing, but watching people grab on the idea of we have to generate hope. How do we do that? And watching people in-game conference, and get down in the little caucuses and figure out what they're going to do, and that is difficult and majorly entertaining to watch and work with. Because as players, you know, will derail anything you give them and go off on their own angle. But you know what? I don't mind. My job as a storyteller is to be flexible.
Yeah, and I mean that's sort of something I'm interested hearing from Tori and Harry on. So I know that you and I were both old school gamers. I've been playing World of Darkness since high school, way back in the day, when you could actually get the books new in game stores. And so I really love the deep lore, but that's because I've spent, years diving into it. And so I'm really interested to hear the perspective of someone who's come new to this setting with its huge stack of history and huge setting and mechanics and all that.
So I'll start off. My introduction to the World of Darkness was LA by Night, which I was late to. I've been into World of Darkness for under a year at this point. And I thought that was pretty cool, so I started my own podcast, and that's when I really started actually reading the lore. So I was like, okay, I feel like I need to kind of know what's going on if I'm going to do this, and hey, it worked out fine. But generally speaking, it is a bit intimidating with, Mage and because I'm doing a show here that's going to be mage, and then also I'm doing 2 different Changeling things: Changeling Lost, Changeling the Dreaming, which the lore is different, I think.
Yeah,
And
Big
it's
difference.
so it's a lot. At least for me, I think my issue right now is I'm taking in too much at once. Like, if I feel like if I broke it down to, like, okay, I'm gonna learn the vampire lore, then I'm gonna learn Changeling the Dreaming, then I'll learn Changeling the Lost. But instead, right now, I've got to learn Mage, Changeling, Hunter, Vampire, and so
yeah.
it all seems like just a pile. Not to mention,
I
I've
will
been
say,
studying up on 40k lore, which is a whole other mess on its own, because I just started another show for that.
oh,
'Cause I
good
got
luck, brave
Wow.
soul.
it's interesting. I do gotta say, some of it's really well written, most of it's horrible, like really poorly written and poorly realized. And as much as I love the universe, it's annoying as shit
Yeah.
to read, like, them missing out on, like, great opportunities to explore real themes. But, you know, that's 40k. World of Darkness, I feel like, does a really good job of that. I haven't had any experiences reading one of the books where I'm like, what the fuck what are you doing? Generally speaking, I feel like there's a level of competence that's just
I
a
mean,
step above.
there are a few books about which we do not speak.
Now you need to speak about these books, Rachel. You can't.
Oh, what were the really awful ones? No one really talks about the first round of clan books. The
Oh,
revised ones
yeah.
were all really good. The ones that came before, not so much. And I also think it's important to sort of look at World of Darkness in context. Like, this was a game written by 2 very young Gen Xers uh, in the early 90s from the Deep South. And they tried, they really tried. And the game uh, is like made an effort to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
we have a chat question, by the way.
Ooh, chat
yes,
question.
I want to get
Yes,
to Tori
sorry, I
because
interrupt
Tori
that.
hasn't had a chance to talk. Just Tori, about your experience as a new player.
Slow and short. Literally slow and short. That's I still am trying to grasp this. This is extremely hard for me. I'm somebody who gets on a game and I'm like, I've been working all day, I've been doing everything all the time. Let's release on D&D, and Changeling is a little harder than that to me.
Yeah.
You sent me
So
like 100, 200 something page thing, and I'm like, am I supposed to read all this? And the answer is actually yes, because if you don't, you'll be like me, which is like, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to
It's
do.
okay. I didn't really read all of it either, Tori.
Oh, it's
so
hard.
as a new player, is there something that you would find helpful in easing you into this?
Well, one, it's great to have you, Rachel. It's great that you get to help me along. So I think if I didn't have an amazing game master like yourself, it would be harder. It's only hard because, like, I am not putting a lot of time into this system. This system is another thing that I do to have a
Mhm.
good time at night, and I like to drink my wine and have
Yeah.
a good time. This
Yeah.
is something that you gotta, like, and in all essence of the word, this is a geek culture. Like, study and get into it. Like, that's what geek is. It's not nerd, it's geek. It's like, be ready to learn something and get into it and be participating in it, or you're going to feel a little lost. And I am going to eventually read all of that
Yeah.
so that I'm not lost anymore.
Yeah. I want to get to that, but like Carrie said, we do have a chat question uh, by Carvin Custom. And yes, we are talking about dreaming. And so Carvin Custom has asked, what's the 5-minute pitch for Changeling? He owned first edition forever ago, but never really read it, and picked up the 20th anniversary edition because he had all the other ones. Uh, so for me, Changeling the Dreaming is really a game about identity. And that's what I've really wanted to delve into with this chronicle, and really lean into having each character reincarnate generation by generation, or in Tori's case, you are perpetual and eternal, and what does that mean for you? Where you have to see generations of people, you know, get born, grow up, die. And so uh, with Changeling, it's about you've got your fairy self and your human self. And you've got to find a balance between those. And for me, that's a really poignant metaphor for like being part of a marginalized identity or being part of a subculture where I love my mom, she loves me. She knows I do this weird thing on the weekends that she sort of understands, but not really. Uh and for me it's just a hobby, but if it was a lifestyle, who knows how that would shape my life and shape my relationship with this person that I really love, and Changeling really wants to explore that. You're different. What does that mean for you?
I think that's one of the things that's really important about Changeling is that it really kind of fits the idea of here is my human self and here is my secret identity with all these people that no one else can see but I can see, and it's a really cool feeling. It's got that superhero feel to it, and which a lot of folks you really can't get in a lot of games. I think probably like you can get a lot of tabletop stuff, but when it comes to things like LARP, it really kind of it pulls it together for you. And I talked about the theme of hope in Aquarius and what that means to Changeling. In a game system like what White Wolf set up in the World of Darkness, it's not a happy place. And when you can bring a bit of happiness and a bit of hope to a world, it feels really good as a player. When you're playing other games like D&D and you're helping save a town from monsters, that's almost a bit more fun than going into a dungeon and finding treasure because you're affecting the world. And I think Changing allows you as players to affect the game world even a bit more because you're more human than a vampire or a werewolf or a mage.
It's super interesting. I never thought of it like that. That's really cool. I am playing it as like I'm attempting to just be a person learning. So the underlining theme is, of course, way too far deep for me right now. Like it's like I'm just trying to grasp the game, like rolling d10s instead of d20s.
Yeah.
Like what does this, and my d10 rolls sometimes don't matter, and I'm like, bah.
Yeah.
Like I don't wait. Success is getting one exact perfect what or something like that. Like it's very interesting. As someone who is new to the whole Dungeons and Dragons in general, getting a total grip on D20. This I'm starting to get a grip on, but knowing the underlining theme of it is very interesting, and it's something that I think when mentioned and when you guys say it so passionately, it makes me want to obviously learn even more. So
Yeah, and for me, vampire was my first love. Uh, that I really liked as, a suburban goth teenager in the 1990s. This was a perfect game for me. And I looked over Changeling, and I believe Changeling was the first World of Darkness game that I ever actually played. Uh, but it took me until being a disillusioned adult to look back and like, oh, that's what it's about.
interesting.
Ooh, we have a question from Jester Jarriot, or that's how I think you say it. What do you think of the future of live action roleplay? What do you think the future of live action roleplay is in a post COVID-19 world? Do you think LARPs will go away, or will there be fewer of them?
So I think that question really depends on like what the end game ends up being. Like, will this become a seasonal thing where, oh, it's fall, winter, everybody, stay in place, stay at home, don't go anywhere. Or, we'll eventually, hopefully, get a vaccine for this and everyone can get immunized. So in the first case, obviously you won't be able to run LARPs during stay-at-home, shelter-in-place orders. Uh, Hopefully, once this is all over, the ideal scenario from a LARP perspective and from many other perspectives is we get a vaccine and we can start LARPing again. And I'm really passionate about LARP, and my hope is that after weeks or months of staying at home, people are like, it's time to be social. How to be social? I'll be like, well, you can come over here.
There is a group meeting that we also like to enjoy fighting with.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
once it gets into your system like that, it doesn't really go away. And yeah, we're gonna have to wait on it for a few months. And the past few weeks have felt like months because we're
yeah,
isolated. But I guarantee you, when this all finishes, it will come back. It can't die off. You can't,
yeah,
even if it's gone for a year. If we can't LARP for another year, let's just say another year. And that hurts my soul to even think that. But
yeah,
um, but it will come back because it's social interaction, and we as human beings crave it. And in this way, we get to storytell and do social interaction at the same time with people we care about. So really, it's just a matter of waiting it out, and we're
yeah.
stronger than this.
And I suppose, like, if it does become seasonal, and if for whatever reason we're not able to come, I love the background,
Tori
Tori.
just
Well, I was gonna ask the question. I want to follow up on this. Like, what's stopping me from being into wherever you say and dress up in costume on video? Is
Yeah,
I
that's a
You
good
get
can.
I
point.
get it's not live action in person
Yeah,
role play, but like even tabletop games, it isn't about always like dressing up and it's just about talking and doing it. But live action, I mean, I cosplay on camera all the time. Like,
yeah. For me, the biggest, so I've got two big draws for me with LARP. The first one is just sort of like all the tangential creativity. So, like, I love making costumes for new characters. And if I'm at a weekend LARP, I love cooking in character. So I always like, oh, okay, what would my character eat? Oh, this is a Mediterranean influenced character, so I'm gonna make some tzatziki. Or this is an Italian character, so it's time for pasta salad. And that's really rewarding. But what I really, really love about LARP is the chance to sort of feel feelings that aren't my own. I go there to have intense emotional experiences, either bad or good. Uh, and you can get that in tabletop role playing, but I do feel that there is, like, when you LARP it, that adds a little something extra because you're in costume and you're standing up and you're moving and you're speaking in your character's voice and you're with
Exactly.
like 20, 40 other people who are doing the exact same thing.
We've all grown up in this movie culture where we all want to be a movie star. Well, you get to be one in a LARP without being on camera. Or in this case, these days, it can be on camera too. It's be a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that's the feeling. You're not only you're engaged at a tabletop. You can be totally engaged in character and have great discussions and great role play on tabletop. That's always the thing. But like Richard said, when you're up and walking around and you're in a discussion that's really heated and you feel the passion, there's a big difference because you're motivated to get out of this live. And it's a different feeling on a tabletop. And once you start feeling that in a LARP, you want to keep feeling it. You don't want to lose it. You want to keep going back, and that's why Jester asked that question because when you're a LARPer, it's a whole other ball game. It really is stepping up to a different level, and it depends
Yeah,
on it depends who you're playing with too. But really, it does change everything.
yeah, and I suppose if COVID becomes seasonal, what we will see is LARP season lasting from whenever the safe season is, late spring up through late summer, uh, of when you can go outside and play and hang out with people. And I think that will probably lead to bigger LARPs. Probably the blockbuster inclination will increase. And so instead of, attending a lot of smaller LARPs throughout the year, you attend like two or three really big ones because that's when people can go outside and play, basically.
Or your smaller ones can go weekly. You never know. I did a LARP every other week for 5 years, and it was part of medication every week of getting on all my stress. So it was helpful
Yeah,
too.
I used to LARP every weekend. But like that was my big social network. Those were all the people I knew and hung out with. Uh, and if we weren't LARPing, what else were we gonna do? Which is probably not the healthiest outlook. And you know, before COVID, obviously, I was LARPing about once every month, every 2 months.
Hmm.
Yes. Also, a gossip closet is not conducive to social distancing.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound healthy.
Oh my gosh.
So I guess sort of pulling it back to the new player experience, um, you know, this is something that like I've really, really thought about a lot is because I really love World of Darkness and I really want to share it with other people. And we're just not in the same era anymore. And even me, like Netflix and YouTube have totally ruined my attention span. So I don't have the patience anymore to just get like a 200-page rule book and just sit down and read it cover to cover. And so what can bring new players in a way that's not so intimidating?
So I'll go back to my experience on this one. Again, I find that a lot of like accessible media, especially like on things like YouTube and Netflix, is really helpful for sparking interest. Like I knew Vampire the Masquerade existed. I knew the video game. I knew Bloodlines. I knew there was a tabletop. There was a role playing game, but like I was vaguely aware of it. Like to be fair, this is all within the context of the past 2 years. I only started playing D&D 2 years ago. So take everything I say with an big asterisk on the side there. That's just.
But that's a new player, though.
Harry's a baby and has only been doing this for no time. I'm
you're
very
exactly
new.
the person I want to talk to.
Yeah.
I'm exactly
so essentially, in my experience, stuff like the thing that got me into D&D was the Adventure Zone. I would listen to it while I was working at the Wolf Conservation Center, and so that got me interested in D&D. And by the way, I have this funny this is a little bit. I mean, this is on topic, but it's a little bit off. I have this weird habit of when I start tabletop games of just like giving the rules a cursory glance so I feel like I know it, then like running a game and realizing I don't know the rules at all, but just going with it until I eventually learn the rules.
Nothing wrong with that. I've been doing that for years. You're not alone.
Yeah, no,
I don't have the attention span to read a long book. I mean, in my time, yeah, when I was younger, I was digesting books left and right. I mean, the joke was, oh, you want to know about Mage? Just ask Mike. He'll tell you the entire book in about an hour and a half. And I could, and I probably still can. But reading new rules is always difficult for me because I'll even 5th edition D20 was difficult for me to digest all that as a storyteller, and you get in there and know the rules, and that's why I always, as a longtime GM, I've learned to make certain that everybody at the table has a voice in that kind of stuff, and so new players can understand it, and everyone at the table can be the expert on what they're good at.
Yes.
And so if you don't know a lot and you're willing to try and run a game, shoot, man, you deserve kudos for that because being a storyteller and game master is a really hard job.
I mean, it's my favorite thing, and I've like my favorite thing to do. Period. I've basically been my friend group's forever DM, but now everybody wants to DM, so like I'm doing like 6 campaigns with a different friend running each one, as well as cool. Shows on the Onyx Path and my own stuff. My life is tabletop games right now, and I didn't intend for that to happen, but that's what's happened now. Oh, we have a question from.
Yeah, well, I just want to check in with Tori real quick.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, if you have anything else to add.
I'm dumb. I try my best.
I have nothing to add. No, I 100% agree that I also only started my first, like, I did a little, like, dabble in D&D with Travis and Rockford probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago, but I just dressed up as a character for one day and then I ended it. So my first actual experience was Extreme Drowess with Rachel, and it ended up being almost like was it a 2-year campaign?
Almost, I think it was like 20 months.
It was insane, and it was honestly the most fun like I've had in a really long time when it comes to like gaming, because I don't do video games or anything like that. So it was awesome, and that's what made me want to do more, and what made me wanted to try the D10 type of stuff and all this craziness. But I think in order to get new players to feel as comfortable as possible is to have amazing people be your dungeon master or game master or whatever you would like to call it at the time, and play with you. So like be patient with new people. Like I feel like you guys have to be super patient with me, and like I think if I was a weaker person, I would be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I keep asking questions. But me, I'm just like, so you're going to have to tell me what to do here.
Yeah. Sort of my perspective is, even among World of Darkness fans, Changeling has never really been like a mainstream popular game, which is sad. I think it deserves to be. But so I sort of see this show as me being able to introduce people to like, hey guys, there's a really cool game that you only know a little bit about. And so I really like having you and Rob to ask questions because I feel like that allows me to answer questions for viewers who are not necessarily familiar with the game.
Cool. Love it.
Yes.
As a longtime player, let me say this: when it comes to this game that Rachel's running for you guys, getting to experience the one episode I was an NPC in made me think about my own story, what I was telling, and reminded me of some stuff that I hadn't thought about the world of Changeling. And immediately went back and said, okay, I'm going to retcon this in, I'm going to retcon this in, I'm going to retcon this in. I got to make sure and make that happen. And so that introducing people to the backstory, even a little bit at a time, is a great thing. And because you're going to see, you the player are going to see all that stuff pan out in the long run. And eventually you'll be at our level and look back and go, yeah, I remember all that stuff when I was a newbie. And
okay, so what is the question on the Twitch?
Yes, it's a bit of a long one. This is could you give us a run through of each of the kith and the abilities and attributes they have? Okay, and I gotta say, that's a lot of kiths, and I will disclose fully, this is my girlfriend's Twitch username, so...
Okay.
Hey, Jane, how are you?
Hi, Jane.
She's wonderful. There's a lot of kiths, Jane.
Yeah, so short answer is no, we cannot possibly cover all of them, because there's something like 90.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of books that came out, especially the Player's Guide to C20 that came out recently, and that had it did what I thought was a really good thing in that it because the original Changeling focuses a lot on European and Irish mythology, and they're like, okay, well, here are changelings from other cultures, other mythologies, which they've tried to do with the Menehune and the Ninihi to greater or lesser success. But anyway, there's a lot. But we can go over like the core 9 to 13, depending on what edition.
Jane says in the chat, "Don't expose me like that."
That's between you two. So anyway, starting alphabetically, we've got the Boggans, and that sort of takes advantage of the house elf myth of a little imp or gremlin that does work for you. There's the old fairy tale of the shoemaker who elves would do all of his work at night because he had such a good heart. And that's what a Boggan is. They also sort of like lean into Roman mythology, the lemur, the house spirit. And so, a Boggan is a good kith to play if you want to be helpful. And if you want to be able to fix things and solve small problems and take care of people. Chloricon, they're leprechauns. They're leprechauns.
I know what they are.
There's a lot of crossover with Boggans in that they're supposed to be Hearth Fae, but where like the biggest difference, I guess, is a Boggan is supposed to be a protective spirit for an individual household. The Cluricon is that for something like a tavern or an inn or like a cottage industry. And so they watch over you in that respect. Uh, Ishu are cool. Ishu are the wandering storytellers. They sort of try to uh, get some North African mythology into this. I personally don't know enough about North African mythology to say how much they succeeded, but Ishu are wanderers, and they go out, they have adventures, so they can tell you cool stories. Uh, it can be difficult for that reason to play an Ishu in a game because it's like, well, shouldn't I be moving on? Um, and you could solve that by moving your game around or having your Ishu travel within the setting. Uh, let's see, what else do we have? I'm scrolling through the wiki. I'm totally cheating.
Well, there is a lot of them, and to be fair.
Yeah, so let's see. Oh, we've got the knockers. The knockers are cool. They're steampunk changelings. They're the magical mechanics uh who want to they have this idea of perfection and they can never make it manifest in the real world. And so knocker is cool if you want to play the cranky engineer. Because they have all sorts of fun swear words that you can use. Let's see, what else do we have? Puka! That is what Panda plays. Puka are fun. They are a shape-shifting uh, trickster fae. And so the big thing with the Puka, the one that everyone always thinks about, is that they cannot tell the truth. And there's been a bunch of explanations for this. I really like the BNS explanation where the Puka are the fortune tellers, and they are so good at seeing the future that they see all possible futures at once. And so they're never quite sure which reality they're living in. And so I like that view of them. We've got the Red Cap, who the Red Cap are dreams of hunger and starvation, which has been a prevalent fear of humanity throughout the eons. Like, we don't necessarily feel that sting. All of us with a broadband connection who can watch that, but it has been a historical
Yeah.
story, and so. I'm sorry?
I was going to say the biggest predictor of unrest and civil conflict has not been economics, it has not been political situation, it has been hunger. If people are not fed, there will be problems.
Right, like the French Revolution started because bread was too expensive in the capital.
Like, the majority of civil conflict comes from people not being able to feed themselves. And so they decide to eat the rich.
There's the food, go get it.
And so red caps really embody that hunger. They are never full, they are never satiated because there is always more to consume. And I sort of see them as, they're the people who panic buy all the hand sanitizer. It'll never be enough.
It's the red caps who have all our toilet paper. Damn it.
That's funny.
Well, they've eaten it. I mean, and no better stories come out in Changeling than if a red cap eats something they shouldn't have eaten.
Right. Let's see. Oh, and then we've got satyrs. Satyrs, they're the Greek satyrs. It's wine, women, and songs, sex, drugs, rock and roll. The way I like to put it is that satyrs really love having a body. they love the fact of their physical existence. And they want to put that to whatever extremes they can, which is why they're athletic and they're into hedonism and they're into drugs because, it's how much can I drink before I puke and pass out? How far can I run before I puke and pass out?
Rachel, have you
Yes.
ever seen Big Mouth?
Yes.
Those sex monsters are satyrs.
Yes.
It's
They
that way.
actually are. And you know what's funny? I'm like, I just connected the dots now.
Yeah.
Okay,
like,
hot take here.
Oh.
I really did not like Big Mouth.
Whoa.
I mean, that's okay.
Yeah, I
You're
thought
allowed
it
to not
was-
like things.
No, of course. I thought it was not good.
Like, what did you not like? You didn't think
So
it was fun?
my biggest this is one thing that I was thinking about this because this was back when I had my radio show, where essentially all I did was talk about my opinions on media. My big
Perfect.
issue with Big Mouth, I think, look, the writing I can appreciate it to some extent, but I find a lot of the jokes fall flat for me at least. But that's a side effect of something else. I think I would be able to overlook it if I didn't find the animation style so weird. And I think, and
That's fair.
I pinpointed the issue. It's the eyes. It is the eyes. The eyes, the way they do it, have this like weird glossy jeweled thing on them. If they were just matte, they wouldn't it wouldn't be as creepy as it is. But the eyes give everything this unsettling feeling.
I buy that.
So-
I buy that.
I think it's probably because they're trying to sort of nail the difference between how you draw an adult and how you draw a child.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I certainly respect it. It's not like there is some media that I think is just, pointless and
Yeah. I mean,
crappy. I
the-
certainly respect the effort put in, and I think it was made for a good reason, but,
the Twitch chat agrees with you.
Harry is not wrong. Hell yeah.
That's-
Carvin Custom, you and me were on the same page.
But
Yeah.
definitely the satyr idea. I was like, if you need an idea of what a satyr is and you're not for
Joe
sure.
Exotic is a satyr.
Yes.
Yeah?
I totally
By the
agree.
way, if you got, not to get too far off topic, every time I was thinking that show, that Tiger King had reached peak insanity, no such thing.
Yeah.
I have not watched that yet.
Where do these
and
people get their money, is my question. Tigers cannot be cheap.
I mean, I guess you only gotta sell like 2 or 3 a year.
That's true.
And if Walmart is giving you free expired meat,
That you're serving to people in your Tiger Pizza restaurant.
Oh, gross.
It's
Oh.
so nuts.
I'm going to start watching this
You
show.
need to. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm waiting for my roommates to my roommate is sick right now, so he doesn't want to do anything, and so I'm like, I want to watch it all together because it's one of those shows that I feel like you gotta pause, like Dirty Money, like when you're like,
Yeah.
wait a second, what?
definitely.
All of Tiger King is like that. It's like you think, wow, this person's crazy, and then another person walks into the story who's crazier, and you think, wow, this is the peak of it, and then something wilder happens.
And
It is peak Florida, is what it is.
Oh, it is. If you were
It
to
is
if you were to
Florida.
write that as fiction, I would tell you there's too much happening,
that's hilarious.
and that it's unbelievable in how crazy it is.
It's also insane that somebody decided hey guys, I'm gonna film this.
Well,
mean,
if I knew
as
what
a
was going
story-
on there, I would have a camera rolling all the time.
Yeah,
But
as
in general, how lucky.
as a storyteller, I actually do derive inspiration from it. Where I'm like, okay, we've got the Joe Exotic faction, and we've got the Carol faction.
Carol is terrifying.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, so Joe is kind of shady, but here are his redeeming parts. And Carol is kind of good, but here are her shady parts.
She may or may not have fed her husband to tigers.
Yeah.
So
Well, then we've got Doc Antle, who is just chaotic evil with his sex cult.
He's got a sex cult. He's got 1 million wives. They're
Spoiler
all
story,
polygamists
sorry.
too.
It's
They're
okay.
all
I'm-
polygamists. And I think it's interesting because it stops being about the tigers. For me, what it is that Jane asks, are satyrs the horny on Maine? And yes.
That's I don't get, so I'll trust your answer.
So, but it's this weird, like, all these tiger people have like these weird egos. Like, they're all crazy egotistical. Sorry, that's this huge tangent.
No, that's a total thing to be egotistical. If you feel like you can go into a cage with a tiger,
Yeah.
be like, I'm fine. I'm like, that's a sociopath narcissist right there. I can't wait for them to murder
Or
someone.
even that you think you should be able to own one of those things. Like, that's like 1,000-pound killing machine.
Yeah, I can control a 1,000-pound murder machine, no problem.
I forget the
Roll
title,
for
but
initiative.
I forget the title, but I watched a documentary like 5 years ago about a different big cat rescue. And it was just these people who were like taking in like retired circus animals so they wouldn't get euthanized. And so they ended up with this white Bengal tiger. And apparently the white tigers are all inbred.
Yeah, very cross-eyed. Poor things.
Yeah, and so it was this married couple and a male handyman. And so the wife goes away for a while, and the handyman and the husband end up like in bed with each other like all weekend. And the wife comes back, and the husband's acting awkward, and she's like, "Yeah, I know. I've been waiting for that to happen. We cool now?" And so like, yeah, everyone who owns big cats is polyamorous.
Like,
they ended up at their own throuple.
Yep. Look, I gotta say, I've worked with animal people a bunch. Like, wolves on a farm. The wolf people, like, that was like an actual concerted effort in cooperation with the government to breed wolves. So the people that got attracted weren't totally nuts. I mean, there was a little bit of crazy, but like the good kind of really likes animals crazy. But I can definitely see how, like, if you're just owning them yourself for private gain, that can attract some real crazy. Because these animals are not good pets.
Are we like actually like psychoanalyzing cats versus dog people right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Freaking crazy.
Anyway,
Calvella says, entering on the serious discussion of Big Mouth was pretty amazing. Thank you for the laugh.
Yes. So should we finish our rundown on the kith?
Yes, I apologize for that.
No,
diversion.
don't apologize. This is fine. Like, I got a really great compliment that this game feels like real people hanging out and not performers.
That is great.
Definitely, I'm paid to do this.
Yeah, 100%. Totally, that's what's going on here.
Paid?
I mean, I'm paid that my fiance is making me drink right now.
When?
Anyway, so the next kith in alphabetical order is one of my favorite. I wrote the book on them. They are the Selkies. They are the shape-shifting seal people. I really like Selkies because they are meant to be liminal. So they exist on land and sea. They need both. And so for Storyteller's Fault, I wrote Kith Book Selkie because I really wanted to sort of lean into that, in that how they're able to exist in more than two worlds, like more so than most changelings. Because most Selkie stories are like, my coats got stolen and I'm sad. And so for the Kith Book Selkie, I'm like, okay, let's make them cool. Mm-hmm. So, spoilers, they used to be Faerie, which is, so you've got the werewolf game line, and a branching of that is you've got changing breeds, aka Faerie, where you've got, like, the were-lizards who are like, we remember what it was like to be dinosaurs. And you've got the were-cats. Yeah, you beat. So, the cool thing about werewolves is that they've got a human form, which is person, an animal form, which is like wolf, and a battle form, which is like huge monster. When you are one of the were-lizards, your battle form is a dragon, and you remember being a dinosaur.
Look on Tori's face just sold that completely.
See, if you told me this, I would have chosen that. Give
Well,
me.
that's werewolf.
Oh, right.
It's in a totally different game line.
Well,
But
just
okay,
say
but
next time we do this.
yep. So, but the Selkies were sort of meant to be friends with the Rokea, the weresharks. Uh,
I love it. There's
Were
where
sharks?
there's where
Yep, there
any
were sharks.
Yes.
paranormal romance has just broken that open too.
yes,
Like,
yes.
now there's were weasels.
There can be.
Yeah,
Give me a were possum, and I will be forever happy.
I could do that.
For sure. It's probably already out there somewhere, but Rachel can do
Were
it.
possum, were raccoon.
Fun fact: my absolute favorite animal are possums. I love them so much. They're so goofy and cute.
They're pretty cute.
Yeah, they're the best.
I
Right?
suppose the only big thing is like most of the changing breeds are predatory. Like even seals hunt fish.
They're cute though. They're cute. But did you know otters rape them?
Seals or
Just
possums?
learned about that.
In Michelle Williams, or is it Michelle Williams? Or am I?
Social media told me that.
Yes, it. Michelle something. It might be Michelle Williams. I don't.
Man, are otters okay? Goddamn.
No, otter. Like she was like, I posted a picture about an otter, and then somebody in the comments said you shouldn't be posting about otters because they rape baby seals, and she was like, why would you say that? Why would you post this? And I was like,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. That's crazy. And then
I once worked at a farm that had river otters. All I knew is one time a goose decided to land in their enclosure and they killed it.
Oh no. So Twitch has asked us to pull back.
That's fair.
From
That's
how
fair.
awful otters are.
That's
so,
fair.
I mean,
sea otters hold hands when they go to sleep.
Yeah, if you want to know
cute.
more, there is Google. Anyway, so for Selkies, I made them former Farah, who, through a variety of circumstances, one of them had to flee to Arcadia, encountered a mysterious True Fae, who I never name, but I will say in my head canon, Lilith is True Fae, who did the magic to sort of tie Selkies to their coats. This was also, for me, a good reason to explain, because this line of Fae is actually along family lines, like why the legend of shape-shifting seals never spread beyond Northern Europe. Anyway, they're cool. Buy
Yeah.
Kith Book Selkie.
Seals are great.
Yes.
They're evolutionarily, they're wild. Because essentially, bears evolved lungs to help them live in higher in the mountains, but then they figured out they could just go underwater for longer too, and thus we have seals. And my girlfriend
Ocean
says
bear.
sea otters have a favorite rock, and yes, sea otters do keep a favorite pebble on them at all times.
Yes. So just to finish up the question.
Yes, sorry.
We've
I love
it's fine. This is how gamers are. So we've got the she. They're elves. They're Tolkien elves. They are in charge because they deserve to be in charge. That is what Tori is playing. Yeah. I sort of wish that Changeling had leaned a little more into not necessarily all the politics between the she houses, but the relationship between she and commoners. And so it's I think of she as being sort of the venture of Changeling. Like, we're in charge because we're supposed to be in charge. And I'm like, okay, but how well do you lead? Like, is this a real thing? And so I know some source books try to lean into that, and like the big problem is that there aren't. Like, compared to vampire, and even compared to werewolf, there's not a whole lot of source books out there for Changeling. And maybe that's a gap someone can fill in on Storyteller's Vault. So Tori, do you have any thoughts about your experience playing as she so far?
I mean, we haven't gotten to do too much yet. Like in the sense of like I am a very young she, and we have a lot of things to go through. So as of right now, I mean, my character in general just believes in herself, but has that underlining like sense of like, I need other people to believe in me and make sure that like, make sure they like respect me. Like I always want that. So that's why in the last game that we played, when like the rose was handed, I'm like, do I like that? Is that a good thing? Like someone telling me what to do. Like, okay, like I already told Rob this too. Like when Rob's character was attempting to tell us to all come together and we must be here for a certain reason. Like my character took total offense to that. Like, you know something I don't know? No, like that is not okay. You don't even know who you are because I know who you are. I remember you. So it's something of a very uppity character who hopefully will learn her place soon, but very uppity.
I mean that's totally fine. Uh, so I see we've got before we move on, because it's about Selkies, which are my favorite, so I will always
Yeah.
talk about them. Why are Selkies not Farah? Why are they Fae in Old World of Darkness? I don't know. That's just how it fell out in design. Uh, if anything, I'd say because when you look at the Farah lines, uh, so like Bastet, it's got a lot of subspecies of big cats. So you've got like were-tigers, were-lions, were-jaguars. With Naga, same thing. You can be a venomous snake. You can be a giant boa constrictor. And so with Selkies, there's not a whole lot there. There's seals, and there's sea lions, and there's elephant seals. So
Mhm.
you do have some sort of like species differentiation, but the difference between a seal and a sea lion and an elephant seal is not as big as the difference between, say, uh, I'm trying to think of something like between a sand cat or a panther and a lion. And because most of the
Are
stories,
walruses allowed in Selkie?
uh, off the top of my head, I cannot remember if walruses are pinniped, but sure.
Walruses, I believe, are pinnipeds.
Yeah, technically they are, but that would be a
Yeah, a
cool.
hammerhead and a great white. Yeah, there you go. Um, and I think also, yeah, so Selkies sort of manifest more in fairy tales, in very deliberate fairy tales. Like there is magic in a Selkie's coat, and that defines their existence. And also, I sort of mentioned this a little bit. Most of the changing breeds are predatory. Cats and snakes, and I'm trying to remember all the other ones. But they are like there's no were deer, there's no were buffalo.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the
Nobody wants to be
Selkies are
prey.
kind of predatory, like seals. I'm sorry. You cut out for a minute, Tori. What did you say?
Oh, I said I think I was just saying how interesting. I'm like, oh yeah, like no, like predator or prey. Like nobody wants to be the prey.
Yeah, yeah. Like wolves are amazing predators. Uh, and so Selkies, they hunt fish, but we don't really think of them the same way we think of wolves or bears or sharks. So that's just me spitballing the design choices about why Selkies ended up where they did.
Interesting. Leopard seals though, those are pretty intense.
Yes, yes.
Fun story about leopard seals.
Okay.
So,
I love how we're animal people.
I'm sorry, this is...
I'm the same way. I'm like, I know animal facts.
So, leopard seals are real smart, like all pinnipeds mainly. Great great fun story. I think it was a Nat Geo photographer, and he was trying to photograph. He was trying to photograph leopard seals in the wild, and one of them took a liking to him and thought that he was a leopard seal because he was wearing a gray suit, and so it would bring him, and so it realized he wasn't hunting, so it got concerned, and it would bring him live penguins and release them in front of him. And so when it realized he wouldn't go after live penguins, it started bringing dead ones and trying to feed them to him. But this didn't work. It tried to force feed him penguins.
It's like a
fun.
cat.
Pretty much exactly that.
Like a house cat with mice and lizards.
Imagine just being a penguin, getting grabbed by a leopard seal and dragged over to some dude in a scuba suit with a camera and then let go. Like, confusion.
Oh,
Poor penguin. Man, that's a human. No, it's a sick seal. No, it's a human. It'll eat me. Can you put me back?
nature and hashtag like that penguin needs something's gonna happen to it otherwise. So
Yeah. You had a pretty good lucky break.
that's why that's the sad that like that's when you were saying like they're not total predators. I'm like the only one I think of like that is kind of is the leopard seal. Like when I see it kill penguins, I'm always like, oh, like run penguins.
Leopard seals are big. They're gigantic.
And when they do their like jaw thing, they're like
Frightening.
There's a real fun clip I saw of Navy SEALs running into the waves, and they've got like all their underwater gear, and there's a seal swimming along. They're like, "Oh, look at this seal!" And I'm like, "That's a Selkie, guys."
That's funny. That's really funny.
Seals
like,
are
one of you. I got my gear.
I mean, I love seals. They're just absurdly intelligent. They're like sea dogs.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, so cute.
We need more seals. Humans should have pet seal. Well, no, we should domesticate them first. Otherwise, it's just not good.
I mean, we have so many Selkie legends demonstrating why this is a bad idea.
Yep. At the end of the day, seals belong in the ocean.
Yeah, in your backyard.
It's like I mean, that's the thing we would always tell people, because some wolves, some people like to, same with Tiger King, right? Some people want wolves as pets.
Oh yeah.
They're not just cool dogs. They're not just big dogs. They're horrible pets. Do you like your furniture? Well, they don't. They'll eat it all. They will eat your furniture. They hate being inside. They need huge amounts of territory. They eat everything. And hey, if they're in a bad mood, they just might kill you, and there's nothing you can do about it, because they can run 40 miles an hour and have the bite force of like a crocodile.
They also mark things too. And
Oh,
very
they
smelly.
pee on... Okay, fun story. So I was working at the Wolf Conservation Center. This was junior year of high school, and I was designing a poster for them. I was just in the office, and sometimes in the office they have pups that they're there for a checkup, and they just let the pups do their thing, because pups are curious and haven't yet developed their fear of humans, which they do when they reach adolescence. And I feel something tug on my shoelace, right? And, that's okay. It's either one of the dogs or one of the pups, which the dogs at the center were hilarious. That we had Noah, who we called Death from the Ankles Down, a dachshund about yay big, the only dog I have ever met that I just genuinely didn't like. Meanest little animal in the world. Aggressive.
Doxies were bred to hunt badgers,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah. But she was horrible. And she was so small that there was no keeping her out of places. She would escape the main offices all the time. Which, essentially, the main offices were like a house, because some, internationally famous piano player donated their property in South Salem, New York, to this wolf conservation. And so she'd escape all the time, and then go to the fence of these gigantic wolf enclosures, and just bark like nothing else. But she was smart enough to not crawl under the fence, because she could fit. But she terrorized the wolves. They were terrified of her. Because she was just so confident. Then there was Dewey, who was a service dog that failed service dog training, not because she was too dumb, but because she was too independent. So she can open doors and turn lights on and off, and she just does that for fun. So that's another story.
That's my mom's dog. It's funny because my mom lives in a 2-story house.
Mm-hmm.
So there's stairs from first floor to second floor. And so she took in this puppy to train it to be a guide dog. And it grew up going up and down stairs, up and down stairs. And during its guide dog, like one of its big tests, it just freaked out at stairs for some reason.
Oh,
And
dogs.
so, yeah, and so they're like, well, we gotta fail her. And then my mom was like, can I keep her? And that's how we got
Yeah.
Acorn.
Then there's Kai, who we keep in the offices because he's great with the pups. He's a German Shepherd Mastiff mix. He's bigger than any of the wolves. The biggest dog I've ever seen, and so gentle. Gentle giant. But the wolf pup, what I was saying was, the wolf pups essentially chew on everything, and they pee so, like, it's hard for you to imagine that there's that much pee in that small of a body. Because they're little, but they're just machines. Like, everything. They get the slightest bit excited, pee. They find something new, pee. Something that hasn't been peed on, pee. Like, all they do is pee.
There's a reason why it's nature and animals. Like,
yeah, and they got these sharp little teeth, so the moment they chew on anything, they just destroy it. Oh, one last story, then we can get back on topic. I'm sorry. We found a field mouse that had been abandoned by its mother one day. It was this big when we found it.
Oh.
Like, so small. We were like 99% sure it would die. So we're like, you know what we'll do? We'll take it in, we'll feed it, we'll give it the best chance it has of survival, right? So we did, and over like the next month or two, we fed it, and it was good. It got up, it didn't die, and it grew to be about that big, with a tail that long, of course. And they're, and so we're like, okay, time to release it, and we added it in this little hamster cage. And so we finally we let it roll around in a hamster ball too. And so finally we take it outside and we open the hamster ball and it runs out, looks around, sniffs the air, runs back into the hamster ball. So we're like, okay, well, try again. And we tried like 5 times and we're like, okay, well, I guess it's staying in the office now.
I mean,
probably
smart
smelled
mouse.
the wolves and was like, fuck that.
Smart mouse.
that is a very smart mouse. It was
Uh,
like, wait, I get fed and I live here warm? Like,
Yeah, like I get food for free? This is cool.
hashtag houses in your houses, y'all. Like, that's why they come here.
Mhm.
This cage is better than a dirt tunnel that I'd live in.
And you don't have to worry about getting eaten by... Well, maybe you gotta worry about Noah, but... Noah, the little demon dog.
I would think humans in general would be rather scary looking. Like, hi, cutie. Your mouth is
Just-
close to my whole body.
And they're like this, they're so tiny. Like,
Everything is fine.
So we've got another question on the Twitch from Rosaline Du. I've never pronounced that. Rosaline Du. What do you consider the most thematic snacks for playing C20? Well, I have my quarantini right here. As far as thematic snacks, I wouldn't go for anything store-bought, like especially anything branded.
Yeah, it's got to be home baked because that's very Boggan of you.
Yeah.
Bread, pastries probably makes sense to me.
Yeah, I
homemade
brought
candy.
ice cream to, like, homemade ice cream to our last Changeling LARP.
And we ate all of it.
That sounds delicious.
fruit would be
Yeah.
good, yeah? I get the feeling that fruit would be a good one.
Yeah, yeah.
And fruit's just good in general. Like, eat some fruit, it's good for you.
Yeah, that's true. It's good for you and it's sweet.
This is now the Onyx Path's official dietary advice show.
Yeah, eat more fruit.
Eat more fruit. The fruit
Yeah.
carriers will appreciate
Eat
that.
more fruit. Same
And-
animal.
And I sort of feel like whatever snacks that you eat during a Changeling game might depend on what sort of Changeling you're playing. So if you're playing a she, you're probably gonna eat a lot of like fresh cheese and fruit and sweetbread, like actual sweetbread, like Madeline's, not meat sweetbread.
No.
Like elf food. Whereas, if you're playing a red cap, you're like, I have my rusty tire. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I
And in
would have
that
gotten
case, like,
some. Yeah, I would have gotten some haggis and clotted blood for Euron, but I couldn't find any.
There you go.
And frankly, I'm sure the farms nearby wouldn't feel great about me breaking into their property and stealing a sheep for that.
Yeah, no, that would be a bad choice.
Yeah.
no, don't steal sheep for this.
I show up one day and there's just a sheep.
Officially condemns stealing livestock.
Livestock theft is a crime and is a serious issue. You should not do it. Oh, my neighbors have alpacas. Fun fact.
Don't eat them.
No, I wouldn't. They're too cute.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, my dog is so confused by them.
Aww.
Yeah, these
How
big
big
old.
are they? Are they like really big? They're like
Yeah, they're
small,
tallish.
right?
I once
They're,
worked
like,
at a
weird.
farm that had alpacas and llamas living in the same enclosure, and they both got confused and mated with each other.
And what is that?
What happened?
Nothing. I mean,
Okay.
Oh, because donkeys and horses can make a
Yeah.
mule. So I'm like, alpacas and llamas. What do they make?
maybe they could make something, but they didn't.
Okay.
Moscow mule, and we all drink it. I don't know why it'd be Moscow.
It was an interesting farm. We had a
Horribly
horse
bad.
that kept trying to
Horribly.
drown people. A cow that the cows that broke
Oh,
out
well,
once a
so
week.
you had a kelpie.
Yeah. Oh, what it would do is this happened to everybody because it would do this to you once, and then once it realized that you'd figure it out. So you'd be filling up with a hose. You'd be filling up its water bucket. It would come, and it was like it was a Clydesdale. Like this was a big horse that was rescued, and it would grab you by the hair with its mouth and hold your head under the water in the bucket. Like it would legitimately try to murder you.
That's a kelpie who needs to be released.
Yeah, that's a kelpie. Then we had cows that were just so big that, like, no matter if we locked gates or stuff, they just break through them. And one time the police called and were like, yeah, your cows crashed a wedding. And we're like, that's where they went. Also, this farm cemented my hatred for sheep. Sheep are stupid and I hate them.
Okay,
Anyway,
so in the Twitch chat,
I'm sorry.
so in the Twitch chat, Carvin Custom says, "Darn, heard hey cutie and thought Deathstroke had joined. So Mike, you know what you gotta go do."
I'll get the cat.
And Carvin Custom also says the developer of C20 came from a Scottish clan famous for sheep theft. I didn't know, but that's cool.
That's
Also, apparently, according to Ryoka, Rycheck 8, Ishu eat trail mix, which, yeah, that makes sense. Like, because they're also North African, I sort of like spice cookies.
Where are we going, Dad?
Oh, yes, Mike, everybody's super excited to see Deathstroke.
Kitty.
Okay,
Deathstroke is
okay.
the cat?
Yes.
Deathstroke is the cat.
What?
She was sleeping, so she's just awake now.
Hey, Deathstroke. Hello.
There you go.
Oh, hi. Kitty.
Hey,
Oh,
hey, hey.
kitty.
Don't be pissy about it. We talked about this before. Look, they're peoples. Peoples.
Hi, kitty kitty.
Oh, oh, I get
happy.
it, because her face is black
So
and
not
orange.
happy.
That's good.
Yeah.
does not look happy to see
And
it.
she's also incredibly angry. So, hey, hello.
Oh, so pretty. Oh, such a good
Yeah.
kitty.
But she's a tiny cat. I'll let her go. So she doesn't
Okay,
kill me.
I got a story y'all will like.
But she's only 5.5, 6 pounds, and she's 5 years old.
So, Jane, if
Yeah,
you're still in
I-
the chat, you can confirm this story. But this was... So, Jane lives in New York City, and so I went down to visit her. And she has 2 cats, Sophie and Cleo, whose nickname will be revealed for comedic purposes in a moment. And so, Cleo's pretty fat. And so, we were just hanging out, and I was petting Cleo. I was like, oh, you need to lose weight. You're a fat kitty. And Jane's like, don't fat shame my cat. And I didn't know the cat's name, so I was like, what okay, fine, what do I call the cat? And Jane's just like, a look of shame. And she goes, Chubby. Because Cleo's nickname is Chubby.
My future sister-in-law, she's got 3 cats: Aries, Princess, and Chubby Cat.
And chubby cat.
Chubby
Oh.
cat.
Yes. And she's an 8th grade English teacher. And so she uses her cats as creative writing prompts for her students.
That's cute. That's really cute.
That works.
That's. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So to finish up the changeling kith question,
That's yeah.
so we've got
last hour.
Slua. You know, it's
Oh,
fine.
we're still going.
Yeah.
Continue, Rachel. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, we've got, I mean, no one else has asked a question. So we've got the Slua, who are, if you've ever wanted to play Goth Victorian, this is your kith. They
Oh, yes.
only speak in a whisper. They have tea parties where they serve like earthworm and snail hors d'oeuvres, and they collect secrets. And so, they're sort of meant to be. I feel like the design intent was you've been playing vampire. Uh, Here's a kith to help guide you into this realm where you're goth, you're Victorian goth, you collect secrets, you're super creepy. Slua, I feel, sort of serve the same role in a Changeling Chronicle as the Nosferatu, where they collect and disseminate information.
Yeah, when we were doing Aquarius with our initial Slua with Ali and Khaldun, both of their characters were that way. Ali was the ancient who had all the information.
She would have ended up leading the Freehold instead of me if she hadn't had
if
to
she just
move.
stuck around. And I will never forget you, the Selkie, going into the ocean looking for that lost sword, and taking Khaldun's character with you, who shows up under the ocean with his umbrella and his teacup, and he's standing at the bottom of the ocean talking to her while drinking tea because he can breathe water. He's a Slua. And that whole image of, yep, this is exactly what a Slua should be. He's all dressed in his suit. He's soaking wet anyway. So he's under the ocean where he's set normally, and he's drinking tea.
So the Mad Hatter?
Kind of, yeah. But she's totally right. It's a Victorian thing.
I would say Mad Hatter, yes, but a much quieter, more malicious style of madness, because he was unseelie as well. So he was very, pragmatic, goals at any cost type dude. Yeah, so he wasn't cartoonishly silly.
No, he was scary silly, which is the worst kind of scary, actually. Like, you expect him. I know he's a good guy in some ways, but he could have gone full Joker on us at any time.
Oh boy.
And people were afraid of that.
Yeah.
And so that's Slua in general. They're really scary.
So then we end up with Troll,
Rachel.
who I sort of really like the direction that they took with Troll, in which, they're not mindless engines of destruction. Because that's more the red cap. Where the trolls are more, they're the knights. They are the firm right hand used to defend the realm, and they are super into honor and obligation, and to invoke the old musical Camelot, not might makes for right. It is not might makes right, but might for right is what the trolls are all about. And because Harry is playing our troll, is there anything you want to talk about with that?
I really enjoyed playing Euron, and I'm looking forward to playing Alasfa. Generally speaking, I really like the idea of a giant slab of meat of a character that's not just a smash barbarian,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel like in a lot of other RPGs, not just D&D, the majority of RPGs are guilty of this. Building a physically bulky character basically ensures you're going to be a meathead. And
Yeah, you gotta be the dumb jock.
yeah, and surprisingly enough, like Euron's int stats are second best. They're pretty good. Like
I feel that about the Goliath race in D&D. They're more like the trolls in Changeling.
mm-hmm.
They're a noble, smart race who are big and powerful, but they don't have to be.
Yeah.
A lot of them are druids. And that's kind of what a troll is. I love that idea that they take the original myth of trolls being these scary, awful things that eat babies and goats and whatnot, and turn them into noble heroes. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a neat feeling.
Okay, so Tori is gonna have to step away because her roommates are demanding dinner and we don't want them to starve. Just Tori, do you have any final words or any last thing you want to say?
I think I'm just excited to learn more about Changeling. I'm excited that you've invited me to be part of the game and learn as I go. I'll try to read more into it because you really do. You have to. And
Yeah, well, so
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, continue.
No, I was just gonna say
Oh.
it's a lot about history, and I know a lot about history. I just don't know a lot about Constantinople. So, darn it.
Not as
Maybe World War II. I'm good at that.
Yeah, it's a splendid medieval city. And you know what Harry brought up about how he came into the world, like on my long-term to-do list has been making a series of introductory videos about Changeling, you know, and I sort of bumped that up a little bit on my priority list based on that conversation.
Nice.
Yeah. I used to do them for the vampire lark that Mike and I met in, and so I should bring that back.
It's a good idea, actually.
I love it. So I'll leave my screen up. I'm gonna. Is that okay if I have Scarred Lands? I was like, what can I leave?
Yeah, it's an Onyx Path property. Go for it.
That's what I thought. I'm like, it's better than my pink room.
Yeah. If anyone is curious, Sins of Shelzar, it's a Scarred Lands game that me and Tori both play in. And it airs in roughly this same time slot, half hour earlier. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Runs for 2 hours. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you so much, Tori.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. It's been fun talking animals.
Yes, you are a wonderful presence in our game. It wouldn't be the same without you. And please tell Rob to rest up and feel better.
I definitely will. I hope he does. But thanks, guys. Enjoy. I'll leave this on so I don't ruin anything on the stream. And
yeah,
my computer will be turning off shortly.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You too, Tori. Take care.
We'll make sure to wrap up by 8:30 to spare Tori's computer. So if anyone in the chat has any more questions, feel free to enter them because we've run out of kits to talk about. There are a lot more.
There are a couple others we utilize in the LARP, like the Ghillie Dhu, the nature spirits. They're a bigger part of the LARP setup with BNS.
Yes.
Where you can play a living tree.
Yeah, and I mean, so it's a cool concept about I'm a nature spirit and I'm tied to this grove. But then there's also the question of how do you participate in the role-playing game part of it?
Agreed, and I think the one player who we have has a decent grasp on that, and she's made it to where she's trying to spread the spores of hope to other people and spread herself to other parks and other places around the Southland. And that's her way of, it's like, oh, okay, I'll hang out with these changelings. I get it. My grove isn't in the place where the balefire is, but I've got seedlings there, and I got seedlings in this park. Anytime she goes on an outlink, she always leaves seedlings somewhere. So
yeah,
that was a nice way of finding a way to make it work, and I like that. And
yeah.
the power set in the game is actually really kind of cool.
Yeah, and you've got the I don't even know how to pronounce them. The Scene, Hessian, who are the Asian changelings who reading their Xian, yes, Thank you. That book, it's really imaginative and it's really well written, and it's not Changeling. Like
No, they're not.
it's its own thing. And that's really cool when you can get a source book and get it to do all of that work. But from my perspective as a Changeling storyteller, I'm looking through this and I'm like, how do I integrate this into a Changeling chronicle? It's tagged Changeling. What do I do?
Yeah, well, I think if I remember correctly, they possess the bodies of the recent dead, things like that, because one of the things we talked about when setting up Aquarius was that Fae exist in every single culture around the world
Yeah.
in one way, shape, or form, and their Fae, the Shen, are terrifying in their own right. What they do, and I have to look them up because if I remember correctly, that's scary as hell.
Yeah, it's sort of like the pact between heaven and earth was broken,
Yes,
and the Xian are tasked with like upholding what fragments they can, which is really cool. That's a really cool concept.
right. Yeah, they when they aren't born into a human body like changelings are. They appropriate a recently dead body and they take over that
Yeah,
body and they take over that person's life, and so they're almost like a fetch in the way the old fetches were designed. That's terrifying. So you may never know that your husband may die, but he wakes up the next morning and this spirit of the sin is embodied and set up in a shop in his body, has all
yeah,
his memories and keeps going.
and like Demon of
Ooh.
Fallen sort of has the same thing where
Hmm.
demons possess someone on the brink of life and death, and like that's really cool crossover potential right there.
There's a separate kind of warfare going on right there. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep. Now you give me a campaign idea. I'm not going to run it.
Oh, maybe I will. So we've been asked for our hot take on each of the vampire clans.
A favorite
Was
clan or
this
all the clans?
Karori who asked that?
Yes.
I knew it.
All right, so my hot take, Assamites. Uh,
Clan ass.
Assamites believe in faith, and so they recruit from the ranks of the faithful. The fact that Assamites are affiliated with Islam is more a consequence of the fact that their stronghold is in the Middle East. Uh, and so I feel like that explanation sort of like departs kind of from like inherent racism in the setting, which they didn't mean when they wrote it, but it's there anyway. And this is my headcanon to sort of readjust is they want someone they want to embrace people driven by faith. Uh to do what is necessary. Bruja all Bruja live for a cause. When you are very young, that cause could be something related to mortal life. So, like unions or the revolution. But as you grow older as a vampire, your causes become more vampiric. So, overthrowing the prince because he is a tyrant. Uh, okay. I have them memorized alphabetically in my head, so I'm counting through them. Um, did you have something to say, Harry?
I was gonna say, at least in my experience, a lot of the time people play Toreadors in a very standard way, of like the aesthete who, who is all about fashion and art and all that. And I feel like there's a lot of other ways you can play Toreador. I think as far as classes go, I think it has a lot of potential that is generally untapped by people. And
Yeah, and so I used to think almost exactly that, for all that my first LARP character was Toreador. But the person who was playing my character's sire pointed out, Toreador are about reminding other vampires of their humanity. And they do that by provoking feeling and by provoking true emotion. And the best way to do that is through art. And so that's why the Toreador are the Toreador. We got asked for Cappadocian. Cappadocians are fascinated with death. And so they are the clan that you want to play if you want to be a little creepy. And so I feel like the topic of death is expansive enough that you could take any sort of perspective on this as a Cappadocian player. Oh, you're just naming the clans in alphabetical order. I skip over Cappadocian because I go with the classic 13. But yeah, that's my take on Cappadocian. Fear of death, moment after death. There's a lot to mine there as a Cappadocian. So then we've got Gangrel. Gangrel are the outdoorsy vampires, the ones who are more in tune with their bestial nature. Let's see. Malkavian. They are the ones who. Oh, I skipped La Sombra. La Sombra are weird. Like their design is all over the place. They're super religious and they're into shadows.
And they're sailors.
Yeah, like they're cool. Like it's about the abyss. It's about the unknown. Okay, but why are they all Catholic? I don't.
Yeah. In Blood City, Chicago by Night, which I don't know when that's or if that's coming back, because we have another show coming. There is a Catholic priest, La Sombra, who's very interesting.
Yeah, no, not necessarily that they're not interesting.
No, just... I wasn't implying. I didn't mean to imply that's what you said.
Yeah, they're just hard to sum up.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with them. Ooh, Gangrel hot take. Not enough Gangrels. Just period. People should play Gangrel more. They're cool. Also, that ability where they just burrow into a rock like nobody's business. Pretty cool.
I promise. I will make the next vampire character I make will be Gangrel. Somehow. Let's see. K-Diff R, make what you want. I actually played a really fun Caitiff who was not embraced Caitiff. She was embraced Ventru, but then she went through Joseph Pander's ritual that deprives you of all clan identities. So she was on the Sabbat. It's like, I'm Caitiff. I have dominate, presence, and fortitude, but I'm Caitiff.
Oh man, I remember we buried you. That feels like an eternity ago.
Yeah. Setites are my favorite clan. You can make a really good argument that they're the only altruists in the world of darkness. Because they're going to torture you and expose your weaknesses, but it's only so you can become a better person. Because we are trapped in this flesh prison and we must overcome it. So I've had a great time playing any Setite that I've ever had. Gangrel, we talked about. Giovanni, they're necro mobsters.
Oh, here's a thing. Here's a take. Too many people play Toreadors like Setites. Just play a Setite.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people should read the Setite clan book because it gives a really cool perspective on that clan that is not relayed in the core books. Yeah, and like in most games I've played that had a significant Giovanni presence, the Giovanni always got the I win button, which unless you're playing a Giovanni, that's not fun.
The I win button?
Yeah, so I played in one game where we had one Giovanni diplomat. And so she had a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that the storytellers ran, which was like, it was great for them. But then I've also played in other games where, uh, the storytellers love the Giovanni. The Giovannis were their favorite, and so you could get anything you wanted done with ghost retainer slaves, and they would never ask for anything in return. And so all of your meetings would be spied on. They knew wherever you were at all times. Yeah, soul steal. There's no defense against soul steal. Uh, and that. Oh, and the other thing was that all the Giovanni players were in lockstep with each other. Where if you read the clan book, that is not the case. They're all. I mean, maybe I don't know what was going on in private Giovanni meetings, but they always appeared to be working together to an extent that I felt really wasn't supported in the setting. And the STs didn't enforce that because they're like, yeah, Giovanni are great, they win all the time. So we've got a question: were clan books written in universe? I would say not necessarily. They are written in like specific character voices. So it's sort of meant to be you have a vampiric mentor who is teaching you that the way things should be, but it's more someone is talking to you and instructing you more than here's a book, go read it to find out who you are. So anyway, uh finishing up hot takes. Malkavian, they have a moment where at their embrace they perceive reality as it truly is, and this understanding just breaks them. They are now unable to communicate what they saw at that moment, which is why everyone else perceives them as crazy. Because if you are the only sane person in a crazy world, you will be seen as crazy. And I like
Hot
that
take on that. I mean, that's the way Malkavians need to be played. I think people forget that, and we see a lot of the fish milk issues, and we have seen them for 25 years, where people will just want to play someone who's batshit crazy and wants attention, and will do crazy wacky shit that really shouldn't, that doesn't relate to the world that they're playing in. And really, you get a better character when you take this idea that you're not broken, everyone else is broken.
Yeah,
You
or
see
like
the truth. They can't see it, and you can't even communicate it to them because there's no way for you to put it into words what you can see and hear and they can't hear, which is your dead ancient elder telling you everything. But
yeah,
which may or may not be true. Who knows? But I think people forget that when Malkavians, and to watch a person play them properly is really a treat.
mm-hmm.
Because they're a really interesting clan to observe. I've never actually had a chance to play one successfully, so I've always that's on my list of things I always wanted to try and do. I think we saw better ones in the Sabbat setting than we ever saw in Camarilla settings. You get more of that truth.
Yeah. And so we've got Nosferatu, who Nosferatu should be the ones working together more than the Giovanni. Because it is explicit in their clan book that they work across sect lines. Not so much in the BNS, but every other version. Nosferatu work together and they talk to each other and they share secrets. Ravnos are difficult to talk about. I've seen some really cool modern takes about them. But that's all people writing like, okay, let's fix them.
Yeah, I feel like there's some. I mean, I won't be. I'm not the first person to say this, obviously, but there's some iffy gypsy stereotypes in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently even that word is a slur. And
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah. I've heard either Romani or Roma is the appropriate term.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot to fix with Ravnos, which is probably why they were all killed off in the Week of Nightmares.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Toreador, we went over Toreador. Tremere,
Oh man.
evil nerd. That's my hot take. They're evil nerds.
Yes, that is very true. And when they're played that way, they're more entertaining for everybody. And a lot of folks play them for power issues because, hey, I want to cast magic spells in a vampire game. All right, that's fine. Okay. Hey, I can set everything on fire in a 10-foot radius. Okay. It's a power thing for a lot of folks. Playing a Tremere is a tough job because they have a huge structure behind them, the pyramid, that controls your every move, and it's actually kind of rough.
Yeah,
You can't maverick that.
I feel like an old Tremere game would be really fun.
Yes, it would. Tremere mixed in with other groups doesn't work well because they really are the odd person out, and they're the ones you really can't trust because they don't have their own agenda. They have the Tremere agenda, and that's it. You know, what their boss tells you what to do and everything. When I played that Tremere for about a year in MES, it was hell as a player to get a grip on the structure and how to do things. Because you're like, well, my character would do this. Tremere say you can't do that. Son of bitches, can't do anything, and it was frustrating. But yeah, okay, I'll just let it go.
So we've got just two more. We've got the Shimasei. Shimasei are about transformation and personal growth. Uh, and so the Shimasei, I think, are almost like Proto Belial's Brood in Requiem,
Yes.
where it's about what's on the other side of vampirism. We've got human here, and we've got Wassail here. What if there's another option? Let's go find out what that is.
Yeah, on the path of metamorphosis, you're constantly changing it, and how I can change things, how I can make things better, how can I make things worse. Really, if you want to be Tiger Man, that's your clan. I did that when we were playing Sabat. That was my character was effectively a less insane version of that real life character. Constantly, it was obsessed with animals. Constantly would alter and change and affect them, less himself and more how I can affect the outside world. And
Yeah.
it was really fun to have a dog that turned into a velociraptor and was angry. So
I had a lot of fun with a Nosferatu who was on Path of Metamorphosis, knew vicissitude, and
oh my god,
their goal was to learn enough vicissitude to overcome Absimilard's curse.
ooh, fun.
Yeah, it was in a Gehenna game, and then the storyteller had to move, which was
Oh.
yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah, but
That's
I've
a lot
got
of fun.
I've got that concept in the back of my head, and when I get another storyteller that I really, really trust, I'll bring him back.
Nice. I like that.
Last but not least, the Ventru. I used to not like the Ventru, then I had to play an infiltrator in the Ventru. They grew on me. I like the comedy of manners that are the Ventru. That's a lot of fun.
It's a lot of work, and we loved our adventure. They were the dumpster fire clan. Problems plague them because everybody hates them, and it's not that they're all bad. They're mostly bad, but they're not all bad. People hate them for their power, their money, their whatever they have that everyone else doesn't have, and so they're constantly under attack in most games you go to. And it's like, let's go with the venture, or let's take what the venture have, and let's hurt them. And a lot of them are just like, we want to build structure, we want to make sure that everything is safe and controlled properly. And then some are just evil jerks, but you know.
I do not understand how when I started my venture infiltrator, she dressed very conservatively, she behaved very well, and then I went through a thing which was like, you've unlocked this part of yourself, So I'm walking around in like fishnets, skin tight dresses, spike heels. Hey guys, I'm a drug dealer from the Middle East to the point where my venture feeding flaws I can only feed on junkies. How? How? Why do you believe I'm Ventrue? I don't.
Venture like, hey, welcome to the clan. Fantastic, come on over. We need more people. And you'll like us better if you're around. And they did. So I guess that worked.
I have been described by my girlfriend as totally a Ventrue. And honestly, it's probably accurate.
They are a fun clan to play. I feel like we should probably bring this back to Changeling.
Yeah,
For
maybe.
the last couple minutes that we're on the air. I guess I will finish this by asking, what's your favorite piece of Changeling lore? Or your favorite aspect of setting or design?
I know very little, so I'm not sure.
Experience.
Let's see. I like the grand scale of it all. How it spans time and space, really. That's one thing that I think a good number that I think it's really hard to do correctly is large scale. Like this, over hundreds and thousands of years or over continents. Running a game that traverses history like that is really hard. And I mean, Rachel, you're of course doing an excellent job. Like, this is so much fun. But yeah, I think that's one of my favorite bits is the scale.
That's a good point. I like to think kind of along the same line is that people can relate to changelings or fairies much as they can relate to a vampire or a werewolf. We've been hearing stories about fairies since we were the size of one, tiny. We've all grown up with those tales, and you can relate to it as a person much faster than you can relate to the alien nature of an undead creature who's living forever. You really can't relate to that because we can't do that. You can't relate to an apex predator like a werewolf because, well, we don't turn into a giant monster and destroy things. You can't relate to a mage because, well, they're human, but they can alter reality.
Yeah,
Changeling
we've all felt.
Soul.
Yeah, we've all felt disillusioned before.
Yeah, and you can save the world, and we've all experienced things where you look at that and go, that just doesn't seem right. Why are those two people in rags hitting each other with cardboard or sticks? I don't understand. They're changelings fighting a sword duel, my friend. You learn to see that virtual overlay in everything, and that's what I love about Changeling myself is the virtual overlay, as I like to say it, as how the dreaming is always present for changelings and not for humans. So when you do weird things, and when my players do weird things, I try and see it. How would a human see this? Oh man, that would be so weird.
Yeah.
And how's that going to get reported to the police or the media or whatever? Because that to me is the fun thing is that changelings exist in the same world we do, and so does everything else they do. We just can't see it.
Yeah, and Carvin Custom says what I sort of think about the game, that the brightest game is quite possibly the most depressing. I really love that, there's sort of this undercurrent of debate in World of Darkness fandom, is Changeling like the brightest, most fluffy game, or is it actually the most depressing? And I feel like there's enough there that you can take a chronicle in whatever direction you want. It can be about the struggle to preserve hope. It can be about, the worst thing ever, which is growing up and having to abandon all of your childhood impressions that the world is a good and fair place and people will always take care of you. A more awakening to an adult understanding of like, no, not so much.
You're right. You can be taken anyway, and we tackled the hope thing in Aquarius because I thought if we're taking the changes into the darkest point, which is the Shadow Court rules everything, the world is ending, and guess what? there's no hope in this world, and you're all going to die.
Yeah.
And, oh, wait, here's a faint spark of hope. And the players grab that thing and they're blowing on it, trying to get the ember to light up, and that is where the magic comes from.
Yeah, I really
Watching that.
I really like to compare Changeling to what it's like at the Ren Fair. Because at the Ren Fair, you go to this place where you've got a whole bunch of people in costume and they're in character for you and they're putting on a performance and you sort of feel immersed. You know, like it's it's not Elizabethan England. It's not, but it's this really cool interpretation of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
So,
the same. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say on that note, it is 8:30 and we should probably wrap up. Uh, thank you, Tori, who is not here. Thank you, Harry and Mike. This has been great. Thank you to all of our viewers. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your follows and subscriptions. I'm just gonna wrap up real quickly. Um, my name is Rachel. I am your storyteller, moderator. What? I don't know. Anyway, uh, you can find me Wednesday nights at roughly this same time slot. I am in, as you can see through Tori's screen, I'm in a Scarlands game. It's a lot of fun. I play a Ratkin Sewer Druid. This weekend, I'm going to be at the Gehenna Gaming Virtual Horror Convention. I'm going to be doing a couple of panels about horror for community content, costuming for horror and LARP. It should be great. So they're also running a lot of tabletop games, virtual tabletop games. You can still get tickets. Not everyone is full. So go over to GehennaGaming.com, pick up your tickets. Also, Tori isn't here, but I want to promote her a little bit. She just came out with a really cool short. It's She-Hulk in dating. You can find her at Victoria Bell Cosplay. You can also find her at Bells of Fury. Both her and Rob, who was sadly too ill to make it tonight. So, yes, if you like Tori, please go check out her stuff. Mike, if you want to talk about who you are, what you're doing, what you're up to.
Well, again, I'm Mike Leader. I've been in gaming for far too long and don't want to discuss that amount of that time. But I normally would be running the Aquarius 2020 Changeling LARP, but sadly we are on hiatus thanks to our unfortunate pandemic situation. So right now I'm actually working on a virtual mage tabletop game, which is either going to be horribly successful or is going to break my sanity. Either way, it's going to be a hell of a ride. So
I know which one I'm going for.
Breaking my sanity, I know. It's okay. But it's funny. I will say that I didn't start gaming in White Wolf, but I was going to find my way back to White Wolf and other places. I mean, I ran D&D 5th edition for 4 years for Adventures League, and I've seen the highs and lows of gaming in that regard. And I do all kinds of things. So look for us at Aquarius 2020 LARP. We're on Facebook. We have both a page and a secret group that members can join when we do come back.
Last but not least, Harry, tell us about who you are and what you're up to.
Yes, I'm Harry. I'm currently a quarantined college student. A lot of fun doing that. You can find me here on twitch.tv/the Onyx Path from 4 to 6 p.m. on Sunday. Not this Sunday or next Sunday. Pretty soon, eventually on a Sunday, soon. There's a new show coming. You can find me here on Thursdays, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and 9:30 to 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time as well. I have a podcast, Saratoga by Night, that you should all check out, because it's fun. I have a YouTube channel, Slubricat, that discusses storytelling advice and World of Darkness stuff, as well as hosting a new show I'm doing called Controlled Chaos, which is a game of Wrath and Glory, which is a lot of fun.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah,
what
and
setting?
if any of you guys want to guest on that, you're welcome to.
Happy to.
Yeah, let me
it's
know.
Nuts. It's a Tau, a Sister of Battle, an Eldar Corsair, and a Rogue Psyker, all currently stuck in a Thunderhawk together. So Oh boy. It's a lot of fun. It's crazy. It's in the Warhammer universe. I decided I wanted to do a Warhammer thing that wasn't like super. Ooh, the Imperium's so cool, because I feel like that's such an issue with the Warhammer community that like the Imperium is meant to be fascist and bad. Like,
Kind of sounds like a Red Dwarf with violence. So
yeah.
I'm game.
It's crazy. It's crazy. They escaped an Inquisition ship and are now again drifting through space in a Thunderhawk with no warp drive. So,
and so for people like me who just got really sold on that in the last 15 seconds, where can we find that?
YouTube.com, Salubricat. That's the YouTube channel.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. It's chaos. In more ways than one, it's chaos.
Go chaos.
Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, we're loving it. Although the Wrath and Glory rulebook, I gotta say, it's a bit of a disaster.
Well,
hopefully Games Workshop will jump on the community content train, and people will be able to fix
we'll
that.
fix it.
Yep. There has been some cool stuff I have found by this one dude that has to do with like making Chaos Champions and Titans. Someone made rule sets for Titans.
Awesome.
100-meter tall death machines, yep.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Tori, who has gone to make dinner for her roommates. Thank you for our watchers. Thank you for our fans. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you next week with a continuation of our narrative.
Take care, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.